autism, Down syndrome, disabilities, why would people choose those life journeys? And the answer is, why wouldn't they? Actually, because each soul has its own experience and chooses the body of the experience it needs. Before you embark on your physical human body, you choose the body, literally the body type, the body sex, the body, everything about the body you choose so that you can grow your soul understanding. Now, if you think of somebody with, say, Down syndrome, they never ever have to think of what we call earthly things. They never have to think about a mortgage. They never have to think about going to the bank or buying food. It's all taken care of. They can just bathe in the joy of being alive. Other groups of disability, they have come to learn the huge soul growth of maybe the humility of being disabled. We don't know. Our stumbling block is that we like all the round pegs in the round holes and the square pegs in the square holes. So if anybody deviates out of that, it causes a problem for us. Because from where we're looking, why would they choose that sort of life? From where they see it, they have chosen the perfect life. And I think that we've said this before, that particularly people who seem to have everything, so a top athlete or somebody who has great wealth, quite often lose everything, because the soul growth is the contrast of having it and then not having it. And more often than not, within the same lifetime, they will build again. Tara and I were talking about this yesterday, how sometimes, say an incredible athlete will go on to be a gold medalist at the Olympics, where somebody else who has a similar disability ends up in the poor me category. It's interesting how their soul takes their journey and where that journey goes, and it all comes down to the thinking, which is the subject of the conversation today. But again, before we get on to the subject of thinking, this week has been an incredible week. If you look at what's going on outside in the world, there's confusion, there's chaos, there's upping of just grime and slime and stuff coming up to light. There's an exposure of the abuse of power, of greed, of all this stuff that's been going on. And these people, these protesters who aren't the rioters, are bringing that to the surface. It can never, ever go back again. It's quite incredible, isn't it, when you watch it? But when you do watch it, or if you don't watch it, doesn't matter. Inside us all is going through a very similar sort of battle, if you like, with ourselves. We want equality in ourselves. We want total peace. We want to accept ourselves, and yet our subconscious mind and all our programming doesn't allow that to happen. So actually, we're doing exactly the same thing as what is happening outside in our world, mirrored inside us to whatever degree that is. So I just found that an interesting fact, that it is chaos out there. Let it. It's so important for us to stay within the peace of ourselves and in that inner peace. So coming back to that question about why people are autistic or are Down syndrome or are born without any legs or are perfectly sort of in what we call a perfect body, and then some disability happens, that is their soul journey, for whatever that is. And it's also, if we're touched by that, our soul journey, because we have come to learn. So if you had thought you were going to be the perfect couple with 2.2 children and a Cortina in the drive and 6 people around to dinner parties on a Friday night, and then you're blessed with an autistic child, life changes. Or a child with cancer. Life changes. Do you see the big soul growth in that? If we all came to paradise with our dinner parties, we wouldn't have any soul growth. We all choose every single thing that is happening to us. We all choose it. And again, we're coming into that in a minute. One of the things they've also showed this week, because last week we were saying you've got about a week, 10 days to look at things within your own life. We have reached a crossroads, very, very much so. We've reached a crossroads in many many things, whether it's relationships, decisions about our eating habits, whether it's what we're going to go forward with our jobs. We have individually been hopefully questioning ourselves on where we want to be next, what we want to do next. And that is such a huge courageous decision to make when you recognize that something has finished, so that something better for you can come in. And that is particularly relationships. And I have just noticed from clients, friends, family, relationships have come to the surface. But when they talk about relationship, they're not just talking about a love relationship. They are talking about friendships. They're talking about relationships with your boss. Whatever that is, there's a crossroads that says, I think we've gone as far as we can. Now, in our human mind, the moment we are going to let something go, we automatically go into failure mode. So if you leave a marriage, you've failed your marriage. If you leave a job, you've failed to succeed in your job. However, if you can look at it differently, that actually you've succeeded in taking that as far as it could possibly go. And most of you, if you've come to the end of your tether with something, you have given it your absolute all. And rather than think that you are a failure because you are now going to walk away from whatever that is, pat yourselves on the back and say, wow, I took that to its nth degree. And whether that's that person, that friendship, they're not ready to come any further on the journey. And this is where my little trusty board comes in, because it happened to me in a succession of losing friendships, as in girl friendships. They come in my life and they'd sort of come in quite a lot, and then suddenly they would just leave, and really with no explanation. I just couldn't understand it. And behind me, my house here, we have a fantastic hill like this, and the sun comes here, and it's beautiful. Just to walk up here on this hill is absolutely beautiful. And I was walking up this hill, just me on my own, and I was crying out to them, as I do, as I lost one of these friends who just left my life. I have no idea what I said or did. I just don't know. She just stopped contacting me, and I just felt awful. You know, that awful. What have I done? Have I hurt somebody? And I was walking up this hill, and they said, "Look, some people's vision of unconditional love is right down here. They're born. They have chosen to be born into unconditional love. Means your mum didn't beat you last night." Or unconditional love means that somebody gave you a meal once a day. Some of us were born very, very, very happily here when unconditional love meant unconditional love. Do you see? Or right up here when unconditional love meant unconditional love. Or here when unconditional love meant as long as you follow their rules and regulations, they'll love you on those conditions. But can you feel the various conditions of loving that can go on until what we're all aiming for, because what we all actually are, doesn't matter what colour your skin is, whether you've got 1 arm or 2 or 10 feet, it doesn't matter. What we all are is love. So when we're not love, the experience the soul is crying out for is love. But if you have from here travelled down here and met a few people down here, and you've met them and you've brought them up to here, that's as far as they can actually go in that moment in time. They can't spring from here to here. They can only go to here. Does that make sense? You're nodding, I can see. Yeah? So what we do is we get to here, from here, we've come here, and we feel a failure because this person can't travel with us any further. Actually, what we're asked to do now is feel a success. How many people we've actually brought up to the level of unconditional love. Because we haven't retaliated, we haven't sent hate mail, we haven't put horrible things out on Facebook. We've just gently allowed that person or whatever it is to leave us, to go with love. And yesterday I was thinking the same thing, and I walked up the hill and I saw a couple sitting halfway up the hill having a little picnic. And I immediately thought, why would you stop there? If you go up here, the view is tremendous. And they laughed And I laughed because I thought, do you see what they had already started talking about today and what they were talking about? Those people were really happy halfway up the hill. So if you have met someone and their actions and behavior aren't as loving, as kind, matching what you would prefer, it is time to let it go. Let it go. And that doesn't matter if it's a friendship or a partnership or a business. It doesn't matter what it is. If you are resisting or they are not acting in a way that you would prefer, leave them to it. We can't keep pulling, because this is this sort of rescue a victim mode that we keep doing. Oh, we're going to rescue them and we can teach them, and oh, they're alcoholic but I can pull them out of it, or they're a drug addict, let me show them a different way, or they're jealous and angry and I can work on that for them. No more. This is the crux time. There's no more time, or what there is. I mean, you can take as long as you like. This is the interesting thing about life. You can take as long as you like. But if you really get this, you can look around you and say, oh, I really get that. That person's really happy halfway up the hill. But their idea of unconditional love really isn't mine. And what we're doing is in resistance, and we're trying to change them, and we're thinking out. We're thinking to somebody else, expecting them to change so that we can be happier. We're at that stage now where we can simply be happy, and happy with the fact that these people will probably just leave our lives. But we are now secure enough to know that's okay, rather than insecure enough to think we've done something wrong and we've failed. It's quite a different attitude when you go, oh wow, we went that far on our journey and now we're parting company. It's not a failure. It's not a failure. So whatever is happening in your life, because somebody here, this is an important message. If you're about to leave a relationship and you're thinking of it as something bad, change it round and look at it from the benefit of where it's going. Because these people, it's kind of almost unkind to take them from there. Do you see? They're having a really, really nice time here. Suppose I'd walked over to this couple and said, look, for goodness sake, why are you sitting there? Just come up here for a bit. It would have completely ruined their moment, their day. Do you understand? So just by leaving them there and choosing to walk on and smiling that they're enjoying that, is where we all would like to be, isn't it? So that people can leave our lives without us feeling those old feelings of rejection and not being worthy and not being good enough for their friendship or their loving, or for them to pay us more, whatever that is. Whatever that is. The second thing they want to point out today is, are each of you actually taking care of yourselves now? Are you spending a half an hour at least in meditation? Are you walking every single day? Are you planning how you'd like to feel? Are you exercising to optimize your body? Are you optimizing your thought processes? Because this is clean-up time. And again, if we're thinking about somebody else and somebody else's behavior, we're not doing our own clear-up time. And it's vitally, vitally important to do the clear up time now, because we're moving vibrations. So everything is becoming clearer. It's like listening to an old radio station that's been out of tune for quite a long time. Now everything is going into tune. Every single thought that we ever have, and we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, they all go out to the universe. They all go out. And we play around and have mucked around for this power of thought business and law of attraction for such a long time. It is so clear. This is the seen. This is the unseen. This is a mirror. This does not have emotion. It does not have, I feel sorry for you. It has nothing but reflection. The same way as when your electricity comes into the house, it doesn't choose which lamp it wants to go to, does it? It really doesn't. It's a flow of energy. Here we have around us, beside us, in us a flow of energy that is available to everyone. This, in the seen, as this is the unseen, it is the same intelligent energy. The energy of the universe, the creative energy, the all that is, God, whatever you want to call it, Bethel, doesn't matter, is coming through all of us. It's coming through us, it's going through our filter system of our subconscious mind, which causes us to have a feeling about something. So we have a little thought, we have a feeling, that feeling goes out to the universe and is there. So your thought's gone out and your feeling about the thought's gone out. And there it is sitting in the universe. Now, you can dip in and out of this, but it isn't like that. This is one of the laws of the universe. There's no argument with it. There's no argument with this. This is a mirror. So you cannot think a poor me thought and expect something wonderful to come back to change it. Every single thought is your thought. It's your thought. And it's your energy that goes behind that thought. And that thought goes out. So if you're having what I call stinking thinking thoughts, and those thoughts are going there, and that's making you feel incredibly low, that feeling and lowness are going out there. At this point here, the universe starts mirroring back more things to make you think and feel like that. What happens is that becomes a vicious circle, because you're doing that. Your thoughts of worry, anxiety and fear are going out. The mirror on the wall is matching it, and more anxiety and fear-based thoughts are coming in, and more events are coming in to make you feel like that. And we live in our own version of this every day. And what's so exciting is that we only have to change a little bit of thinking, which gives us a little bit of thought, feeling differently. And we can start creating actually what we want now. And what's so fantastic about this is that every time we've decided what we don't want, we decide what we do want. So if you imagine you're putting all this energy on to what you don't want, but at the back of your mind, you're thinking what you do want. So what you do want is already out in the universe. But it doesn't come into us because we're thinking that we haven't got it, we don't deserve it, whatever that is. Let's use something materialistic. Let's use a new car. So you want a new car, but you don't think you can have it. You've put out that you want a new car. So that is already out in the universe. But all this negative thinking is, I don't think I can have it, I don't think I can afford it, I don't know where it's going to come from. So you're actually, the thoughts and feelings are in the negative, which is I don't have. This is a mirror, and so you get more of the same, I don't have. And therein lies the quandary, you see, because you're putting out this, it's not coming in, and you're ending up down here. You get more of this because this is the dominant vibration. Once you really get this, you have energy coming through here, it's filtered through you, and it's going out there. It just starts getting exciting because you think, well, if that's what's happening, the moment I change that, I can start into what I actually want and not what I don't want. And because all this is negative goal setting. I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this, I don't want that. The universe is going, okay, yes, we can have more of that, more of the don't wants. It's not stopping and thinking about it, it's an intelligence, it just brings it straight back at you. The same way as if you put your radio on radio 1, nobody but nothing is going to change that to radio 2 until you go and change your outgoing, the listening that you're doing with it. And what's happening is this used to take lifetimes before thoughts and actions used to come back at you. So you could kill somebody in one lifetime and it might not come back for 4 or 5 lifetimes, you see, because we're in such a slow vibration. This return karma energy, if you like, is happening instantly now. Instantly. Or in its own time. So now, if we take our vision back to us, we have just spent 11 weeks alive. What have we done with it? What have we done with it? Because there's a sense of urgency now that we haven't actually done quite enough, or we haven't done enough painting, we haven't enough writing, we haven't done enough whatever. Today, this is your life now. It's always been your life now. And so all this thinking out about what you're going to do when it's not your life now, it's futile, except it is so beneficial to start thinking about what you would really, really love to have. And then understand that this is not personal. This intelligent energy that keeps us alive every single day is not personal. Because we think it's personal, and we've been trained to think it's personal. We've been trained to think we have to please a god. Whichever religion it is, there is a deity somewhere that we have to please. We have to make good, which gives us, and always has given us, the understanding that we're not very good, that we have to prove something to somebody to get anything out of life. Then we've had lifetimes and lifetimes that spiritualists shouldn't get paid for their job because it was a God's given gift. So we've got all that in our own DNA. And we're in this sort of stuck situation now where we're just okay. But do you wake up every morning with that, oh, wow, another day, this is really exciting? Or anxiety and worry, oh no, I mustn't think anxiety and worry, and I'll try and put that to bed. Where are you waking up in the morning? And more importantly, where are you going to bed at night? Because whatever you go to bed on, whatever thoughts you go to sleep on, more importantly, whatever vibration you're vibrating out from when you go to sleep at night, can you imagine how long that is you're marinating in that? So if you go to sleep at night with love in your heart and joy of your growth, you've been sleeping in that all night. That has a chance then to get going, because everything up here, all our spirit guides, all the people that love us, and everything up here is conspiring for us to have this. Now, what's so interesting is that if you can think a thought of something you particularly want, it is actually in our field of energy. So it is already there and ready for us. What we need to do is to move into the vibration of it. Do you see? We are living in an ocean of this intelligent energy. There's one ocean of intelligent energy. It's all connected. We are all connected. So the moment we put a thought out that we want something, going back to the car, I'd love this new car, the universe is already there. It can't not be there. It doesn't materialize out of thin air. It literally is already there. And what we need to do is magnetize that to us. And we can do that with the vibration that comes out in our heart. But what we've done, we've lived so long with fear that our dominant vibration coming out of our heart, which by the way is thousands of times stronger than anything coming out the rest of our body. So thinking positive thoughts and feeling negative feelings, this one's going to win every time. This is why you have to get this lot all lined up. You have to have your thoughts matching your feelings, matching your soul. Then you've really got power. Wow, you really got power. So this heart here, this we've had this, we want this, but it's not coming. And then we have anxiety and fears that we've brought upon ourselves, or people living with us have brought upon ourselves. We're dragging this thought process along with us. We start with it in our background before we start. Do you see what I'm saying? We sort of start the day with this baggage behind us, this non-deserving baggage, this it hasn't been here baggage. If you start a clean slate and say, right, we are here to create. What more do I want to create out of life? What do I want? Better health? Would I like a healthier body? Would I like more money in my bank account? Would I like a lover in my bed? Rather than just go, well, you know, I'm 80 now, that's not going to happen. Think to yourself, well, that's in my field of energy. Now, if that's in my field of energy, and that thought's been dropped into my head, and I really feel that would be a lovely idea, we've got to get rid of this anxiety and fear about it. Because 1 minute you might say, actually, I do want a lover in my bed, but I'm so fat and ugly that nobody's ever going to love me. So you've got this "I'm so fat and ugly" dominant vibration coming on from here, when what you wanted is here, but you've destroyed that. Not destroyed it because it can't be destroyed, but you've negated it by bringing everything down here. So purity of thought, or purity of what you would like next. And it's not the rah-rah goal setting, sort of what you'd like next. It is, what more would I like to create? I'd like to create more of my garden. I'd like to create more peace in my heart. I'd like to create more friendships. I'd like to create a lover. I'd like to create, okay, let's start with that purity of thought. The first thing is to have a look at whatever you're thinking about now. What's the first shadow that comes in when you say, well, and the lover's a good one, particularly for a woman, because you've got all this baggage attached to all the other relationships you've had. I mean, everybody has baggage attached, but particularly women, it's a body image quite often. So the moment you think about a new lover, you start thinking about taking your clothes off. You're down here, and your vibration's gone down. So you look at that and you think, right, well, that means I'm actually not happy with my body right now. That's what you need to start looking at and working on. Why I'm not happy with your body, and what can you do to make you happy with your body before you start going back to what you originally wanted. Do you see? Because if you try and just put this to bed, it'll keep getting on. And the fact that you want something means it's there when you're ready for it. So if you can come into alignment with your body, go, actually, you know what, how blessed am I that I have 2 arms, 2 legs? How blessed am I that I can walk if I choose to? How blessed am I? And before you know it, you think, well, you know, by the time I meet a similar person of my age, they're going to have similar sort of hang-ups. Do you know what? The body thing isn't going to be an issue. You can actually clear that from the whole of that, and you can actually ask yourself, do I actually really want that? Is that really what I want, or is that something I thought I wanted? And if it's something you really did want, start afresh from your new understanding. Because what you want is somebody to walk by your side, not someone to complete you. And for years and years and years, we've looked for somebody to complete us, somebody to make us feel good, somebody to make us look beautiful, somebody to give us all the things that we haven't been able to give ourselves, fill out all our gaps. And when they don't, because our expectations they're going to, everything goes wrong. See, because we've expected them to fill our gaps, the expectation is too high, things fall apart, and we're left again feeling low about ourselves. So it's really interesting to be able to have a look at all these now and say, well, if I did walk away from that relationship, or that job, or that way of life, how would I feel about that? What's my belief about that? Because what we're doing, folks, at the moment, every day is Groundhog Day in most people's lives, with variations, slightly up and down, slightly up and down. Because we are so limited by our belief system. So our belief system of what we deserve, what we can have, is very, very limited to what we've been taught. And what they'd like to get through today is there really is no limit. Our limits are only our belief system. That's the only limit. And if we can understand that this intelligent energy coming into us has all the information, it has all the intelligence to create planets and all the beauty in the planets. We're hurtling in this universe, hurtling around with a magnetic force that if the magnetic force came to an end, so would we, put it down rapidly. It's not too difficult to think that we are in that magnetic force, because if we weren't, we wouldn't be on Earth, would we? We'd fall off, and gravity wouldn't be here. Gravity is here because it's magnetic force. It's then not too difficult to think, well, our thoughts, if our thoughts have energy, what happens to that energy? Because energy never is destroyed. It's transmuted and recreated, but it's never destroyed. So you have all this beautiful, beautiful knowledge and energy and intelligence coming through you, and yet you're filtering into what you deserve and what you don't deserve, and all your past behavior. By the time it comes out here, it's mucky and shoddy. And then what you're doing is thinking, just trying to keep this just above water slightly, this thought pattern, and you're battling this and battling this. And the second question that came in is, what do you do when you've lost your connection? You recognize from here that you've done this. and it's doing, and it's producing that in life. Do you see? It's producing Groundhog Day, Groundhog Day, and every single day is another day that we haven't wasted it because we've done something with it. But have you expanded yourself? Have you learned something about yourself? Have you been kinder today with something? Every day, rather than just sit and say, well, I'm safe now. Because what we're doing then is giving lip service to all the anxiety and say, well, I've dealt with all the anxiety. Because by now, over this 11-week period, you've either experienced the fear that you've feared in the first place, or it actually hasn't materialized, so the fear's gone. But we're still left with a residue of fear. And it's the residue of fear that we now need to really look at and settle down. Interesting, Tara, can I tell a story? This morning, Tara and I were chatting while she was walking the dog, and suddenly something happened. I don't know what, but it put you into that fear mode, didn't it? Like that. And then that recognition, oh, it's okay, it was actually quite safe, it wasn't such a bad situation, and that instant calm down of allowing that fear to go. And the angels came through to her and said, look, actually, if you call your dogs back with love rather than fear, they'll come back really joyfully and happily, and you don't have to go through all that. You don't need all that stacked up on you. You don't need it. You don't need to be dragging it around. And that's what's so lovely now, is we don't need to drag it. Tara?
Okay, so there's just a question. So other than our negative thinking, what delays what we desire coming forward?
It's not our negative thinking that is delaying what's coming forward. It is our negative output of the vibration. Yeah? Which is why all this excitement about the law of attraction and the power of thought, and then people have gone and tried it because they're thinking about it. It must be mine, must be mine, must be mine. Underneath, that's not how they're thinking at all and feeling about it. Do you see? So we've been taught to have this lovely thought and just keep that thought and concentrate on that thought. The secret, I think we told you that. Just think it out there. The universe has got it now. But it's kind of half right. Yeah, think it out there, and it's in your field of energy, so it must be ready for you. What it doesn't say is that if you feel anything less worthy about it, or more to the point that it's not here, do you see? You're putting out, it's not here. If you can go into it's on its way, that changes your vibration completely. Well, I've put out for a lover for the last 10 years and he's not here, or she's not here. Change that, or she's not here. Do you see where that's going out there? Change that to, wow, I've put that out. 10 years worth of energy. If I can drop the crap that's attached to it, it's ready to manifest almost straight away, because there's no fooling the system. So unless you are vibrating at this stage up here, you're not going to get what you want up there. What you're going to get is somebody vibrating in the same vibration as you here. Do you see? So positive thinking is all well and good, but not if you're not believing it. Because if you don't believe it, you're not going to feel it. And in fact, you're then battling with yourself. And the battle is even bigger, because you're saying, well, I haven't, it's not here. And I put out for this and I put out for that, and it's not here, not here. Whereas if you say, well, I'm ready now, fantastic, this is really exciting, but actually I'd like to lose half a stone, or I'd like to decorate my kitchen, or whatever it is. I'd like to be ready for this person who's coming into me in whatever form that is. I'd like to get over my fear of heights before I meet this person. Just whatever, it doesn't matter. But who do you want to be when you meet this person? Because surely it would be lovely for them to be complete in themselves, and you're complete in yourselves, and then you can come together and be just beautiful to this is the infinity sign. What we've been trying to do for such a long time is find this person the other side of our sea. What we're going to do once we've cleared all our baggage is find this person, the one that's complete themselves. You're complete here, and you can do this. Do you see? What a lovely, lovely relationship that is, than trying to make these two fit when they don't. And in fact, they're getting less and less likely to fit, coming back to the first picture on the mountain, because people are reaching their limits. They're reaching the limit of where they can go at the moment. There's so much discord in those that, can you imagine being on this journey but not understanding you're on this journey? Can you imagine the fear and the anxiety that's going on out there without understanding that there's more to it? It must be tremendously scary for everybody, and it's very difficult as sensitives not to pick that up. In fact, I have a very good friend with an autistic son who described it as static. He said, I feel static. And that's exactly what it is. There's this sort of anxiousness. And it's very easy for us to live in this permanent state, because that's what we've learned to do, of anxiousness. And it comes out like this. And it comes out like this, and it gets thicker and thicker into almost like, well, I'm just about safe where I am, so I'm not coming out of my little world here. And what we've been encouraged to do is come out of your little world. Come out. If you want a lover, it doesn't matter if you're 18 or 80. If you have put out that you want a lover, that lover's put out that they want you. But if you still suffer from jealousy, and you know that, or you need somebody else to prove to you that you're pretty or worthy or whatever, you will meet somebody who is in exactly the same position. They'll expect you to make them feel better. You expect them to make them feel better. It doesn't happen. You end up feeling worse about yourself. They feel worse about themselves. It's so exciting when you're just a complete person on your own. Then whoever else you meet is also a complete person on their own, which is why they're saying that this sort of push me, pull you, power struggle relationship, whoever it is, whether it's a sibling, whether it's a child of yours, whether it's a friend of yours, well, it doesn't matter who it is. When you see this power, sort of almost a power struggle, give me power, give me energy, it's going on, stop and go, oh, I don't need that. I'm really quite content. So that's why the positive thinking is really, it's beneficial in the fact that it's getting you to notice that your thinking is stinking. Yeah? How many times a day do you say, oh, I can't do that? Oh, I can't do that. Tara?
So just another question. Do we choose not to understand before we come into this life?
We choose to forget, not to not understand. That's a big difference. We choose to forget where we came from. We chose to forget the operation system. We chose to forget all of it. And I think I explained this last week, because if we remembered how bright and light we were when we came from, and we realised how dark it's down here, the first thing we decided to do is go home, which is why there's so many suicides. So we chose part of the rescue plan, if you like, or the bigger plan. We chose every time we came on the planet for a life experience, we forgot where we came from until we started to remember, which is why I believe I don't teach anything, I remind. So when you go off, you think, oh, that means, yeah, I get that. It's not an understanding so much as a remembering. And quite often, Tara, you'll say, well, I don't remember anything. I don't remember what you said. And it's true. You don't necessarily remember what someone says, but you do remember the feeling, that sort of light bulb moment of, yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, I'm connected to that. Oh, yeah. But we had to go through this huge separation and thinking we're separate this lifetime. Does that answer your question? Whoever answered that, it was a really good question, because Earth is just a succession of lifetimes, and a succession, so we can choose to experience all the slightly lower vibrational emotions, and then when we've done with that, we can then go into love vibration. And what we're doing now is taking the whole of our planet into this, which is why there's so much unrest going on. And within the unrest, the clear picture is that people prefer peace. But that's a good explanation, actually, because these peaceful protesters are out on the streets shouting. Yeah? So they're peaceful, but they're shouting. So they think it's peaceful because they're shouting. But look at the vibration of that shout. Look at the anger that comes out of that person as they're protesting for peace. What they will receive back is people and opportunities to have all that back as well. Because all the time you're doing that, all the time you're angry and you're, can you feel you're wading through and battling through other people's stuff? Because when you let that go, would you go out today and stand and bellow out the streets? No, because the inner peace it doesn't compute. So you can see how that has to be a process that they go through until they choose not to. So you'll see the different variants in the protesters. You'll see the ones that are smashing windows and looting. You'll see the ones that are shouting and charging the police. You'll see others that are sitting in the park quietly, just sitting on one knee. Do you see that? But if you look at that, there's various levels of consciousness. But the overall consciousness is this unity of the law of one. And that is what's coming to light. It's the law of one. And that's why those in power are having such a struggle, because every time they try and put a lid on something, it's exposed. And the lid goes on and it's exposed. But it's not just exposed in one area or one country or one culture. It is now globally exposed. Globally. Well, it'll be interesting to see what comes now, because where will the group consciousness lay with all the people that are fighting right now? Where will it land? I wonder if it'll land. There's a danger that it could land in like mini wars down here. Do you see? Like it did on Saturday night. The police started fighting the protesters, and we end up in mini war. There is a chance that we can do that. There's a chance that we have the peace protesters not with war, but just shouting at everybody. So that's another vibration going out. What we can do to aid and abet this and really help, if we can, is to stay here and think peaceful thoughts. And think peacefully for ourselves as well as everybody, everything around. Because every thought and feeling that goes out with us is a thought and feeling. Okay? So if you have nothing better to do and you're washing up, think to yourself, as I'm washing, I'd love to be able to be washing the energy of the country, or the energy of war. So you're putting your thoughts out with a feeling about it. And then you imagine how that looks. Every time I run a tap, I say, I bless the water wherever it goes. Because I know that the energy of my thoughts, my feeling, and blessing the water, and I then imagine it going down the drain, and where is it going to go? Where's it going to end up? It's going to be put into a cloud somewhere, and it's going to be rain again. I wonder where that's going. So do you see how you can follow your thoughts, and you can lift your vibrational output so quickly just by your imagination. So this heart of ours has a bigger concentration of the electrical magnetic field. It has a high intelligence. It takes the energy of the universe in its purity, the heart. And if we allowed it and just allowed the heart, allowed it to do this, the process that we were designed for is that we think of something, the universe gets it ready for us, we get ready for it, and it comes in. That's how it's supposed to work. So simple. We feel as though we already have it because we're so excited, the same way as if you order something on Amazon, you know it's already on its way, it's coming, you don't have any doubts, you've ordered it. You paid for it, it's done deal. They let you know when it's going to arrive. The universe doesn't let you know it's going to arrive, but it does give you little steps along the way. It gives you signs that it's arriving, and you just wait in anticipation, and that's so exciting. But what we're doing is we're putting all these things we want out here, and we're sitting here with it. And with all this stuff going on. So say what they're saying today is, if you had a clearing now and just said, well, if I didn't have all my old beliefs about not being good enough and not being able to do something, or not being able to meet somebody, or change jobs at this time, or move house, or move down to the coast if you want to suddenly get up and move, just say, well, hang on a minute, I'm thinking I can't. Now, I know that when I acknowledge that I'm attached, and there's the question, you cannot disconnect. can't disconnect. It's not possible to disconnect. It's like disconnecting from air. You can't do it. It is always running through you. But when you are by design using that intelligence running through you to create the life you want, wow, that's when the power comes in. When you feel disconnected, you are noticing you feel disconnected. You notice it. I'm in a bad mood. I feel angry. See, I am noticing it. And this is like when I said with Tara this morning, the moment you feel that, you have a look at this, go stand down. There's no, you know, what's the point of all that? We just, this constant anxiety that we feel in all levels, but even when we're walking around our house, it's time to just let that settle now. What am I fearful of? What am I fearful of? Because the more of this fear we can get out of us, the more belief we can have in the system, the happier we can be, and the bigger our soul can grow, the more we can experience. And us keeping small isn't doing the world any good. Because I bet if each and every one of you suddenly came into £5 million, your first thought would be what you're going to give it away to, what you're going to do with it. So what's the benefit of not having any money? Do you see? It's our belief system that you couldn't possibly do that stops you. So if you suddenly said, you know what, I really fancy £1 million, and what would I do? Oh, I'd give somewhere with that, I'd do this for me, I'd do that for that. So can you feel how, from not having it, you can suddenly start thinking about it? And I'd love to be able to build a swimming pool for the children over there. I'd love to build a park over there. And suddenly you're flowing with this energy and this intelligence that's coming through you, and dreams like that. And then every spare moment you get, when you find you've gone into anxiety and worry, just then go into what we'd like. Tara, would you say something, sweetie?
Yeah, sorry, just another, I'm trying to clear the fear of the vaccines. So how do you see this? So somebody's feeling that fear of these vaccines.
Okay. What happens with fear is that you've put out a thought, right? So from here, you've heard information from somebody in the fear mode or whatever it is. You've heard information and your subconscious mind has made it fearful for whatever reason. So what you're doing now here is you put out mandatory vaccines in your head. Whether you want it or not, it's what you're thinking about, what you're feeling about, and what's going to come back to you in your timeline, because we're all in separate timelines, in your timeline will become a mandatory vaccine. Has anybody else in the group thought about in that sort of fear-based reality? I bet not. It's not our fear. It's not our bag. Okay? My advice to that is don't think about what you don't want. Just don't. Because the more you think about what you don't want, the more you don't want is going to come to you. It doesn't matter if that's a vaccine or a vicious dog. If you go out thinking, oh, I'm going to go for a walk, I hope there's not a vicious dog out there. Tara will back me up on this. Tara said to me one day, oh my God, everywhere I go there's joggers. I said, yes, there is.
Yeah.
She said, oh, I'm saying everywhere I go is joggers. Yes, exactly. So everywhere she goes are joggers, not is joggers, sorry. Everywhere she goes are joggers. Until she stops thinking about joggers, which is very difficult when you start thinking about it. As you see, now we're thinking about vaccines, suddenly you're on a whole thought process about vaccines and where you'd go with it and what ifs. And can you feel how that it's not even happened? You're sitting in your lounge worrying about something that may or may not happen and building up this, thinking, well, the universe is ignoring me. It doesn't realise I'm in this sort of mood. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because it can't not. So when you're sitting there, wallowing in what's happening over here, so is your universal world. Your world is staying there. So whoever asks that question, I really do suggest you say, when that happens, if it happens, so you need to put this at rest. And so it's very unlikely to happen, because we have a society now that is not going to be made small anymore. We all have a voice. You're not the only one that doesn't want a mandatory vaccine. I wouldn't have a vaccine, but I'm not stressing about it. I've just chosen I'm not going to have it. That's the end of that thought process. Do you understand? So rather than get into that tizzy, think what you do want. I want a healthy body. What does that feel like? Oh, it feels like being able to move my fingers. It feels like my hair's growing healthy. It feels like I'm blinking. Well, what intelligence is doing all that? This intelligence. The same intelligence that keeps us alive at night. The same intelligence that helps, that facilitates us breathing and blinking. If we start using it the way it was designed, with pure love energy, and that is what it is. You see, the system was set up that we could get back whatever we put out. No judgment, no judgment, no right or wrong. That is the system. Yeah, not appeasing anybody else, but just doing this. So I suggest today you do this, but look at this. I would like this, but get your butt out the way. But before you get your butt out the way, have a look and see what that butt is. I would like to drive a, I don't know, DB7, but, and then you go back here, but I can't afford it, or I'm too old, I'd look silly. Whatever that is then what you stop and look and see if that's, where did that belief come from? Whose belief is it? And is it true now? With the knowledge that you have, that we all have the ability to have whatever we want if we can get all this crap out of the way, is it true? Now then your heart starts lifting a bit. You go, oh, do you know what? If I'm not specialized out, and I am part of this whole system, and there is this possibility, now you've gone into possibility. And your vibration immediately, you've turned your dial, you've gone into possibility. How exciting is that? And slowly but surely, you start living with that. So you can start saying, well, yeah, do you know, I've always had this idea that I am going to have a lot of money and I am going to give it away. Start today. Give a $5 to something. Start today. So you start matching the vibration of that you want. Because the moment you do that, there isn't a delay. The only delay is what we have built up in our belief system. That's the delay. So that is when our soul journey becomes interesting, because we can say, right, what have we picked up in this belief system that says we don't deserve that? Well, because I've been a bad girl, and bad girls aren't loved. Yeah, well, I've been an angry girl. Good girls aren't angry. I've been a violent man, or I've been a pussy when I should have had courage. Whatever it is that's kept us down, it's the stuff that we've just got to get in there and say, right, if this is true, if I have this intelligence and the availability to, and the access to everything out there, what would I have? And when you start with that, then you say, and what do I believe about that? What do I believe about that? Because that's when life starts saying, well, then I can get rid of this belief, aim for this belief. And then the universe will give you the first step toward this. First step. It's not going to give you this necessarily. So if you've asked for a partner, they'll say to you, go to that coffee shop. Yeah? And you'll go to the coffee shop and you didn't meet it. You meet that person. You say, oh, well, I thought the coffee shop meant I was going to meet that person. Then they say, no. The coffee shop is so that you get friendly with the owner and he takes you to play golf. And on the golf course, you meet that person. Do you see? They're not going to take you straight there to this person. They're going to take you. But if we're looking down here, because we don't think we deserve that person, we're not going to go to the coffee shop to have a coffee. I know those days are gone, but they will be back. But can you understand how the universe so fantastically puts these little like breadcrumbs all the way to what we've asked for? But we're so busy looking down here, so busy in our anxiousness, so busy picking up things to worry about. And I'm not making a mock of it, but why the heck would you start worrying about viruses now? Yeah, I am making a mock of it. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? Because there's something in you that doesn't trust that you would cope with that situation. And you're blaming out. I'm fearful because they're saying this. No, you're fearful because you're fearful. Let's have a look at what you're fearful about. Do you see? Because this blaming out, you're looking for something to blame for your anxiousness. No. Own it. Own it. I feel anxious today. Why? Oh, because no. Not because of anything out there. If you're feeling anxious today, it's because of something in here. See? Then it gets exciting. Oh, so this is my anxiousness, and I'm basing my anxiousness on something out there. Yeah, sure. So should we stop doing that then? Tara?
Wonderful, Wendy. Thank you very
I
much.
hope all that's been very helpful today, just to lift this from where you could very easily get caught and trapped
Wonderful.
in the smell of it.
Well, I'm just going to stop the recording now. Thank you very much.